My family thought I was powerless until they opened my file. The moment my older sister opened my file, the room went completely silent. She had been smiling just seconds earlier. My mother was sitting beside her, already planning how they were going to divide my father's property. My brother was leaning against the kitchen counter, laughing like everything had already been decided. They thought I was the weak one, the quiet daughter, the woman who had been cheated on, humiliated, and pushed out of her own family. They thought I had nothing left. Then my sister pulled one document from the file. She read the first line. Her smile disappeared. And my mother whispered, "What did you do?" I didn't answer. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't have to. My name is Emily Carter, and for most of my family, I was the person they expected to lose. I was 34, divorced, and living in a small apartment outside Chicago. 3 years earlier, I had married Daniel. Everyone loved Daniel. My mother especially. He was charming, successful, confident. And I was apparently lucky to have him. At least, that's what my family kept telling me. What they didn't know was that Daniel had been cheating on me for almost a year. And the worst part, the woman he was cheating with wasn't some stranger. It was my younger sister, Rachel. I found out on a Tuesday night. Daniel told me he was working late. I believed him. Then his phone lit up on the kitchen counter. One message. I hate pretending you're just my brother-in-law. I remember staring at that screen for almost a minute. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply asked Daniel one question. How long? He didn't even try to lie. 8 months. 8 months. While I was planning our anniversary dinner. While I was telling my mother how lucky I was. While my sister was hugging me and telling me I deserved happiness. They were together. When I confronted Rachel, she didn't apologize. She actually said something I'll never forget. You were already losing him, Emily. I just took what you weren't strong enough to keep. That sentence changed me. I filed for divorce. Daniel begged me to keep everything quiet. Rachel begged me not to tell our parents. And for reasons I still don't completely understand, I agreed. I left quietly. No public fight. No social media posts. No family war. I simply disappeared from their lives. And they mistook my silence for weakness. That's where they made their biggest mistake. Because during my marriage, I had discovered something about Daniel. He wasn't nearly as successful as everyone thought. His company had been struggling. Badly. And the reason I knew was simple. I had helped build the financial system behind his business. I was an accountant. Daniel was the salesman. He got the applause. I handled the numbers. And after the divorce, I discovered something even bigger. Several business accounts had been moved into companies controlled by my father. My father had been helping Daniel hide debts. Why? Because my father had invested nearly $400,000 into Daniel's company. If the company collapsed, Dad would lose almost everything. Suddenly, the family wasn't protecting Daniel because they loved him. They were protecting him because they were financially trapped with him. I kept every document, every bank statement, every email, every transfer, and I put everything into one file. I called it simply Carter Family Financial Records. Then I walked away. For 6 months, nobody contacted me. Until my father died. That's when everything changed. My father's will stated that his estate would be divided among his 3 children. Me. Rachel, and my brother, Jason. But there was one condition. The estate couldn't be distributed until an independent attorney reviewed the family's financial records. My mother hated that clause. Jason hated it even more. And Rachel. She called me crying. Emily, please, we're family. I almost laughed. Because family was exactly what they had used to hurt me. 2 weeks after the funeral, we gathered at my mother's house. The estate attorney placed a thick folder on the dining table. My mother looked at me. You don't need to make this difficult. I said nothing. Jason leaned forward. Emily, Dad's gone, can we just move on? Then Rachel looked directly at me. You've always been dramatic. That was when the attorney cleared his throat. I think everyone should see the documents before making any decisions. My sister opened the file. The first document showed $180,000 transferred from my father's account to Daniel's company. The second showed another $95,000. The third showed a company registered under Jason's name, receiving money from the same business. Rachel's face went pale. Jason stopped smiling. My mother looked at the attorney. What is this? The attorney calmly replied. These transactions appear to have been structured to protect Mr. Carter's investment. My mother turned toward me. You knew? I nodded. For almost a year. Rachel suddenly stood up. You can't do this to us. I finally looked at her. Do what? You've been waiting for Dad to die so you could destroy everyone. I shook my head. No. I pointed toward the file. You destroyed yourselves. Then the attorney opened another document. And that's when the room truly changed. It was a letter from my father. He had written it 3 months before his death. It said, Emily, if you're reading this, then you've probably spent years believing that your silence made you powerless. It didn't. I watched what happened to you. I know about Daniel. I know about Rachel. And I know what Jason did with the business accounts. I didn't confront them because I needed proof. You were the only person in this family who understood the numbers well enough to see the whole picture. So I left the records with you. Don't use them for revenge. Use them for the truth. My mother started crying. Jason looked at the floor. Rachel didn't say a word. Then the attorney pulled out one final document. It wasn't about the money. It was about Daniel. The financial records proved that Daniel had used company funds to pay for hotels, vacations, and apartments connected to his affair with Rachel. My sister stared at the page. That's not true. I looked at her. You told me you loved him. She didn't answer. You told me I wasn't strong enough to keep him. Still nothing. I took a breath. But you never asked yourself why he needed you to hide. The attorney explained that the financial evidence could expose the company to serious legal consequences. Daniel had been using business money to maintain his secret life. And my father had documented everything. The family suddenly understood what I had known for months. I wasn't powerless. I had simply stopped fighting when nobody could see me. The estate was eventually divided according to the will. But the money wasn't what mattered most. The truth was, Daniel lost his business. Rachel ended up leaving him. Jason had to repay a significant amount of money. And my mother. She called me almost every week for months. Not because she needed money. Because she finally understood what she had done. One evening, she asked me, "Why didn't you tell us everything when you found out?" I thought about it for a long time. Then I said, because every time I tried to speak, you told me I was the problem. She started crying. I was wrong. I know. There was a long silence. Then she asked, do you hate us? I looked out the window. No. She seemed surprised. I don't hate you. I paused. I just don't need you anymore. And somehow, that hurt her more than anger ever could. A year later, I moved to Seattle and started my own financial consulting company. Nothing huge. Just a small office and a handful of clients. But every morning when I walked into that office, I remembered the woman I used to be. The woman who stayed quiet because she thought speaking up would destroy her family. Now I understood something. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence is simply someone gathering the truth. And when the truth finally opens its own file, people who thought you were powerless suddenly realize something terrifying. You weren't powerless. You were prepared. And that is the part they never saw coming.